Hi everybody, this is Lisa. I'm back today with another project for you. Today I'm going to be watercolouring the Mama Elephant Timeless Tulips. I got this set a couple of days ago and I really wanted to do some watercolouring, and I often use Zig clean colour real brush pens, but today I thought I wanted to use my Kuretake Gansai Tambi paints. I don't use them enough. I'm a little bit nervous of using them sometimes, but I just decided today that I would try those and see what kind of look I got with them. So I've got the 36 set of pans, and they're really beautiful colours and they're really lovely to colour with, so I really do need to use them more. Anyway, I'm starting off here with a panel of watercolour cardstock, and I'm stamping the image twice using Versamark ink. I do it twice because it's a textured cardstock and I want to make sure that the image is really crisp when I put the powder on. So I'm just going to use a white embossing powder here. I find watercolouring with white embossed images really pretty, so I wanted to go with that look for today. So I just heat embossed that and set it, and then I laid the panel down onto my craft mat and secured it with tape whilst I started to work. And on this project I decided that I would go with the wet on wet technique for the watercolour, and I normally do a dry technique where I put the paint onto my brush and I take it direct to paper and then I add water afterwards. But I wanted to try something that looked a little bit more organic for this image and a little bit more fluid. So I added clean water to all three of the tulips first, and then you just drop the pigment in and you can just watch it travel. It stays within the lines of the image because they're slightly raised. And also it will only travel as far as the water sits on the paper. It won't travel outside of that either. So even if I hadn't embossed it, so long as I'd only added water within the image, then the paint would have stayed within that image. So I really do like the colours that I picked. I worked in layers. And the best thing to do is to heat set your painting in between layers, otherwise you can get some bleeding. And I probably should have added more water onto the second layer. I did a little bit more of a dry technique here and it didn't end up quite as fluid as I wanted. It sort of comes away with the hard lines, which I actually do really like, but it was slightly different to what I thought I was going to get. And the pink actually on the middle and the left tulip is actually the same colour pink, but it's obviously a much softer colour in the centre. So I really diluted that down before I added it onto the paper. I googled the colours for the tulips actually before I started to work, and I really liked this combination of the purple, fuchsia and soft pink, so I was really happy how they came together in the end. But you do need to dilute that pink down. And then I start on the leaves, and what I did at the start was I just laid the first colour of green down. It's mostly so that I can actually see where the leaves are, because it's really quite hard to see when you've got a white embossed image. And apologies if my head goes over. I have to kind of lean over to see what I'm doing a lot of the time, so you do get my head in the frame sometimes. And then I go in with a slightly darker green just to add a little more depth to the leaves. They're not kind of that easy to paint really. There's a lot of a smaller flower, which you would see if the image was black, but when it's a heat embossed white image, you don't actually see that definition of the flower. You can see it looks a little bit kind of disjointed in the centre where all the leaves are, but that's because normally you would paint those little flowers, but they're really too small to add any kind of watercolour in. So I'm finishing off the leaves and I heat set the image again. I was trying to be better at making sure that I actually dried the layers in between so that I had a lot less bleeding. But you can just pick up any accidents with a paper towel. I did that a few times whilst I was actually working on the image, you probably saw. And then at the end, I just thought it needed something else. I just didn't want it to be an image sitting flat on the cardstock, and I thought I'd just add a little bit of blue around the edge. And actually the blue that I used from the pan was darker than I wanted it to be. So because it's all still wet and I'd added the water before I laid down the paint, I could actually just go in and dab off some of the excess, which lightened it significantly. So it's a really pretty light blue at the end. So once I got to the end of the colouring, I just take off the masking tape. I have to do this really carefully, as you can rip your card if you're not careful. So it's always better to pull it away from you, and that minimises any kind of damage to your panel. So as the panel was dry, I had heat set it. I went in with some VersaFine Onyx Black to stamp the sentiment. I didn't do this at the beginning because of the amount of water that I was going to be laying down. I didn't want to run any risk of there being any smudging, so I waited till the end, used the Misty to double stamp it because of the textured cardstock. Then I just added some double-sided adhesive onto the back, and I added it to an American A2 sized card. So the whole card is actually 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 at the end. I trimmed off a little bit that was excess at the bottom, and I just felt it needed something else. So I die cut a couple of frames and adhered them together, and then I adhered the two of them onto the panel. So I do really like how it ended up. I think it looks really pretty with the scalloped frame around the edge, and it just sort of finishes the card really. And lastly, I just added on some sequins from Studio Katia. They're called Majestic Fusion, and I'm using them all the time because they just seem to go with everything, and I thought they would finish the card off. So that finishes my card for today. I hope that you enjoyed watching. If you've got any questions, then please feel free to ask either on my blog or on YouTube. I'll be happy to come back to you. All supplies will be listed over on my blog. I really hope that you enjoyed watching. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll be back soon with another project. Bye for now.